And we are live yet again. This is Anmol here. I have with me Joseph Das. Today we're going to talk about something really very interesting, especially if you happen to be in B2B sales. And what we're going to talk about is that one single question, which is extremely crucial, which you have to ask. Otherwise, you will be running around like a headless chicken. And we see so many sales professionals who actually miss out on asking that question. And trust me, they are in for the long run, and it's going to be very difficult for them to realize, how to go about closing that sale that they want to make. And that question is, I'm going to leave it to JD to spill the beans.
That question is that who are the decision makers in your organization? Right. It is very important to know the stakeholders, because if you know the stakeholders, there's a mental picture in your mind how long the cycle could go on, the sales cycle could go on.
Right.
Like if you don't know, then you are shooting in the dark, and that could backfire.
Right.
And it is imperative that you ask this key question: how many stakeholders are there? And then just listen. The guy will give you all the names. And apart from that, you are saying something. Apart from the stakeholders, what else, Anmol?
The decision makers.
The decision makers, the influencers,
Right.
the power centers, or call whatever you may.
Different terminologies. Like for instance, if you are selling to a school, let's say it's an ERP software, then a stakeholder might be the management, the principal, but for all you know, the power center may be the receptionist. The influencer might be the receptionist who actually lets you for that meeting with the principal or the management. So what you need to do very cleverly is understand the structure of the organization. Try to do your research before even you go into the pitch. Understand who the directors are. When you are actually pitching, go ahead and shoot that question, because if you don't, then because in B2B sales, you will have multiple stakeholders: the technical buyer, the end user, the CFO, the CEO, multiple stakeholders, right? And you need to know who all will be involved. For instance, you may only be talking to, say, the technical buyer, and you may think, hey, you did a great job, of that presentation. The technical guy was completely, he loved your presentation, and you think that, hey, you're going to crack the deal, right?
True.
But it might not be. So when you ask the technical buyer, and he says that, look, the CFO has a major say, right? We are a little cash strapped. The CFO will be the one who will be majorly involved, and say we also need inputs from the CEO. He also will give the final go ahead. Okay, so if the technical guy says this, okay, so that, look, you've got the technical guy with you. He likes what you've done, but he's also saying that you need to get in. The CFO and the CEO are also critical. In which case, your next call to action with the technical guy is, can I have a meeting with the CFO?
Absolutely. One more point, comes to my mind, Anmol, here, is that apart from knowing the stakeholders, it also gives you an opportunity to build rapport with them, because in the long run, you've got to manage them.
True.
And each guy comes with a different kind of, temperament. He may have his own inhibitions.
Right.
And I don't know how much he believes in your product or service. So identify these key players.
Right.
I call them key players. I like this word, Anmol.
Right.
Key players.
Key players.
Yeah.
It's a game. Sales is a game. Sales is a game.
And then manage them. It's fun actually. It's a skill.
Right.
It's a combination of skill and temperament.
True.
To manage the series of different people.
Right.
And what's happening when you do that? Actually, more than them, you as a sales guy is growing.
True.
I'm growing. I'm understanding.
Whenever you're talking to the CFO, the CEO, you understand the business as well, right? And then that's a luxury a lot of sales people have. They get an understanding of what's happening in others' organizations without running the risk of having an organization. The other thing is, when you ask that question, you are sending out a signal of, hey, I'm serious about this. So as a salesperson, if I'm pitching to JD and I tell JD, what is the next step and who are the decision makers and what is the process of buying going to look like, right? These are questions which talk about, look, I'm serious about this, right? I want to know what it is. I'm not offending him in any way. He will try to tell me the process, right? And there is a signal that, well, what will you think, JD, if I tell you what is the buying process like?
What you ask is not as important, Anmol, to me as to how you ask it, how you position that question.
Right.
If your tonality, tone, you're gentle in nature, and before that you already built some 5-7 minutes rapport with me.
Right.
Then I will tell you. Definitely, I will tell you.
Right.
And then you have to make notes. These are all your conversation with customers are very important.
Right.
You make notes.
Right.
But I'll tell you, in my mobile and more,
right,
I'll have all these questions written.
Very good.
I will type and write it and more. And whenever I get time, because I am also learning, right? I am also learning, evolving, growing.
25 years plus learning, 25 years experience plus learning. I like that. Yeah.
Learning, yeah.
Right.
So whenever I get time, I look at this question and practice and internalize this question,
right,
in my mind,
right,
so that when I'm in front of the customer,
right,
it comes to me naturally.
Right.
I may miss. I mean, I have got a set of many questions.
Right.
But 1-2 years they miss is perfectly all right. But the key questions.
Right.
It's.
Did you do that in the first half of your sales career?
No.
Writing that question.
No.
It's only later that you.
It's only later. I learned it by people who groomed me, who taught me.
Right.
That's why in sales or any field, every skill is learnable.
Right.
If you have a learner's attitude,
right,
and that mindset, it helps.
True. Absolutely. So, extremely crucial, this question. I like what Jerry said. So, when you're asking that question, you need to have the right tonality. Okay, it should not come off as something which is very blunt, abrupt. Right. Set the tone. If you keenly heard him, he said build rapport first, and then towards the end of the meeting, just out of curiosity, just
let me ask you. Let me do a role play.
Let's do a role play
so that they understand it. Mr. Anmol, with your kind permission, can I ask you a question or two?
Tell me, Jerry.
Can you tell me who are the stakeholders in your organization who have the impact on this, the deal?
Sorry, Jerry, we can't reveal this right now. So I'm playing the devil's advocate. Let's see what's this come back. Okay. I'm sorry, Jerry, we cannot reveal this at this point of time.
I respect your sentiments, Mr. Anmol, but without knowing the stakeholders, it will be difficult for me to take you through the process. Suppose what will happen? Actually, I will be wasting your valuable time.
No, I get that, but why do you want to know who is going to take it? I mean, I'm going to be a single point of contact for this.
Absolutely, appreciate that.
Right.
But unless and until I don't know the decision maker, the guy who's going to take the decision, how will I manage him? Or how will I pitch the product? I don't know what is going on in his mind. He may have objections. Right?
Right. So yeah, in our company, it is also the CFO who takes.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. Thanks for letting me.
No, but I can't let you meet him. I can't let you meet him.
Okay. Can you let me know your concerns on that?
Yeah, I mean, I need to talk to him. I need to talk to him if we could arrange a meeting with him.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
I'm asking for a 5-minute meeting. I know he's a busy man.
Right.
I know his time is important.
Right.
Just a 5 minute, just as you frequently, a warm-up meeting.
Okay.
Just shake hand, and you just introduce me to him, so that he's there in the loop. He understands that something of this nature is going on.
Right.
So that we have to come on the same.
That was perfect. That was simply amazing. I'm going to give you a round of applause, Jerry. That was simply perfect. I think you should replay this video, at least this part, the way he went about this. Watch for the body language, watch for that smile, facial gestures. Very, very crucial. That's what tonality is. Your voice plus the way you go about asking that question. And finally, he was able to elicit some information, some headway into the deal. I didn't commit to saying, look, this is what my organizational chart is. This is the hierarchy. I'll arrange a meeting. No, that does not happen in the real world. So I was actually trying to be the real customer. So he was able to make some headway into this whole process, and that's what you need to do. So tomorrow, when the technical guy perhaps is not responding, that there's a CFO behind who's probably calling the shots, and your idea with the technical guy is somehow get to the CFO, right? Because there is a CFO who's taking the call. If you don't know, if it was just very dark on the other side, you have no idea whom you have to approach.
Yeah, I will get another deeper insight. While you're speaking, I'm also thinking,
right?
When the customer is interested and he's inviting you,
right?
He's a prospect, right?
Right.
Then the customer will share.
Right.
all these details with you, unless and until he's very insecure, or he wants to control the whole conversation or the
Right.
deal. But if the customer is a suspect means I go and I convince and I create awareness, I create need, I push him to buy the product. Easy
Right.
is no value. Then he will shut me off. He will jump me off. He'll say, I mean, why you want to meet the CEO? Why you want?
Right.
I am myself not convinced.
So are you trying to say that we need to see the right stage to drop that?
Absolutely,
Right.
and the right customer. That's all.
The right customer. So you will get those signals.
Yeah.
You will get those signals. You use this when you know that look, the presentation went fairly good, and now you want to know what's the next step, right? When you want to know what is the next step is when you ask this question, right, which will help you take to the next step. So what I'm going to conclude right now is the timing of this question is also important, right? That's what JD was trying to say. The timing is very important. The tonality is extremely crucial, and the first part, which is what we started with, extremely important for you to ask this question. Don't shy away from it. This is not going to offend your prospect. This is not something which is rude, because these are the kind of answers we get when we talk to sales guys. Hey, don't you think we are trying to be too bold by asking this question? It is not being bold. It is just about being transparent, because it works for everyone.
Anmol, if I may ask you, I know the video is getting longer, but there's a lot of value in this video.
Absolutely.
Let them understand in the sales cycle, when will you ask this question?
So if I have a meeting with, say, a technical guy, okay, and I do the presentation, right? I'm going to put forth that question, right? I do the presentation. I answer all the objections with the technical guy.
Okay.
With the technical guy. And
it's also possible with a purchase guy, because
anyone. So I've done the presentation, and I want to know what's the next step of action, right? So at which point I'm going to ask this question.
Yeah.
And so there's also one more thing. How are you going to identify certain other players? So for instance, he says the CFO is involved. Okay. So a possible follow-up question could also be: so if the CFO is also on board, do you think that the deal can go through?
Excellent.
Right, just in case this guy is missed out on some other stakeholder other than the CFO, that will push him to think, oh, no, actually there's also the project head who needs to understand.
So I'm getting
the information slowly. Absolutely, right. So that's also very crucial, because he may not tell you everyone, right?
Correct.
So you need to nudge him slightly, right? And when he says, yeah, I think that's if he's convinced, then we pretty much have things going for us. We can sign the deal. Yeah. Which means it's very clear, right? Yeah. We know exactly who to approach, how to approach, what kind of mindset that person has. For instance, if it's a CFO, then it's just about financing, right? Because the technical guy's got the project spec, right? So I know whom to approach. If it's the project head, then I know it's also the functionality of the product, not just the pricing, right? So I know how to approach each of these important stakeholders. So you could do that as well. Once you know the first question, follow it up with a even trickier question, right? Which is about, if all of them agree, do you think we could sign the deal? When could we get started? Don't pressurize it, just a very general way. So when are you planning to implement this, right? Again, if they say July, last week, then that means yes, they are serious about it. They have a timeline as well. Right? So gives you a lot of information, because once we close in on July mid-month, right, that okay, they are planning somewhere July end, so that this deal is progressing.
But many people struggle with this. This I call
They struggle.
This I call the art of subtle conversation.
Right.
This is a learnable skill.
Right.
It takes time. You learn the skill.
Right.
You position yourself, your gestures, everything. It takes. It's a knack. Actually.
Yeah. But I like to believe that if we practice it, we'll get there. If we practice it, as Jay said, if you write this down, you tried in the first meeting and then you realize, okay, it didn't go that well. You asked it at the wrong time, or probably you didn't ask it the right way. Correct. You are learning. At least you asked it, right? So that's more important than anything else. So keep doing this, and trust me, you will see a big change in the way you are doing sales in your business, right? Especially for B2B folks out there, I strongly recommend at least the 3/4 of this video, not from the start, but 3/4 of the other side. Some really valuable information. Replay it, and then go back to your sales conversations and ask yourself, is this what you've been doing? And are you doing it consistently? right? Make it a part of your psyche, and trust me, this can be a game changer in the way you do things. That's about it. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. The idea out here is to go live every day 6 p.m. That's our endeavor, because we are here to add 5x value to you. And I believe this is a wonderful platform for you to come here and share your questions. This is a live chat as well, so share your questions. We'll be more than happy to answer these questions. And do subscribe to this channel, because that's how you're going to get a notification whenever we are going live. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Good luck. We will see you tomorrow.